England was exhausted when Henry first set foot on its shores. The kingdom split apart by 2 decades of civil war, a land ruled more by fear than law. And out of that ruin came a young man with too much energy for his own good, a restless prince with red gold hair and a temper to match. No one expected him to rebuild the country, but Henry had never cared for expectations. He came for the crown, and once he had it, he intended to reshape the world around it. Henry was born in 1133 in the turbulent city of Le Mans, where the clatter of armour was as familiar as church bells. His mother Matilda believed the throne of England was hers by right. His father, Geoffrey of Anjou, taught him to fight long before he taught him to read. Henry grew up in a world of marching boots, whispered alliances, and the constant knowledge that the crown his mother sought was slipping through her fingers. As a teenager, he sailed to England with a handful of knights, driven more by boldness than strategy. He failed, but the daring of the boy shocked the kingdom. By the time he was 20, he had inherited Normandy, Anjou, and Maine, vast territories that made him a prince of real weight. And then fate handed him its most incredible gift, Eleanor of Aquitaine. Their marriage tied him to the most prosperous duchy in France and placed him in command of a realm stretching from the Channel to the Pyrenees. When Henry returned to England in 1153, he came as a man determined to end the chaos of Stephen's troubled reign. The country was starving for stability, armies were weary, lords were exhausted, and even Stephen, old and grieving the death of his son, saw in Henry the only chance of peace. He agreed to name Henry his heir. A year later, when Stephen died, the throne passed quietly at last. Henry was crowned at 21. He barely paused to breathe before setting to work. England had fallen into near anarchy, private castles, corrupt sheriffs, and laws bent to a noble's whim. Henry tore down illegal fortresses, dismissed officials who had grown too powerful, and rebuilt the treasury brick by brick. He moved with a pace that amazed everyone around him. It felt as if the country were waking from a prolonged fever, and Henry dragging it back into order by sheer will. What Henry ruled soon became known as the Angevin Empire. England were only one part of it. Normandy, Anjou, Aquitaine, Maine and Touraine, territories that dwarfed the lands of the French king, were bound together under Henry's restless command. He dealt with Scotland through strength, Wales through calculated pressure, and Ireland through opportunistic invasion. Across Europe, kings bristled at his ambition, but few dared challenge him openly. Wherever he went, Henry insisted on control. He had little time for ceremony. He preferred late-night councils, long rides across muddy roads, and debates that lasted until dawn. He was clever, relentless, and often frightening in how quickly he grasped the heart of a problem. For all his conquests, Henry's greatest impact came in one place most kings ignored: the law. He wanted justice to come from the king, not from feuding barons or corrupt local courts, so he rebuilt the legal system from the ground up. He sent road judges wandering from county to county. He allowed ordinary people to take their grievances to royal courts, where verdicts were given under the king's authority. And he introduced juries of real men from local communities who would judge cases rather than rely on ordeals or duels. Without knowing it, Henry was shaping the legal tradition that would stretch far beyond his time and far beyond England itself. But even the greatest kings misjudged the people closest to them. Henry believed he had found the perfect partner in Thomas Becket, his loyal chancellor, and raised him to the position of Archbishop of Canterbury. He thought Becket would bring the church family under royal command, but instead Becket changed in an instant. The moment he put on the Archbishop's robes, he declared himself the defender of the church's rise and Henry's opponent. Their friendship was shattered. Years of bitter conflict followed, each man refusing to yield. When Becket returned from exile, the The quarrel boiled over, and Henry's furious outburst, spoken in anger, not command, sent 4 knights to Canterbury. What followed shocked the world. The Archbishop was cut down inside his cathedral, his blood staining the cold stone floor. The murder turned Becket into a martyr and left Henry reeling. To repair the damage, he walked barefoot to Canterbury, submitted to public penance, but the stain on his reign never fully washed away. If the church had wounded Henry, his own sons would break him. He crowned his eldest, Henry, the young king, during his lifetime, hoping to secure the succession. But the young man had no actual power, only a title that mocked him. Resentment spread. Richard and Geoffrey followed his lead. Their rebellion in 1173 was a storm. Eleanor supported her sons and half of Europe joined their cause. Henry, against all odds, crushed them. He locked Eleanor away and forgave the sons who had tried to dethrone him. But the peace was false. The young king died in rebellion, Geoffrey died in an accident, and Richard turned to France. And then Henry learned that John, the son he trusted most, had also betrayed him. Something inside him had finally collapsed. Henry II died in 1189 at Chinon, broken by war, age, and treachery. He whispered the names of his sons, not with anger, but with exhaustion. Richard, the warrior he had both feared and admired, inherited the throne. Though his empire crumbled after him, Henry's true legacy endured. English justice, royal authority, and administrative order, the things he built outlasted every rebellion, every war, and every son that had failed him. He had risen from the chaos of the anarchy, rebuilt a shattered kingdom, ruled half of France, and reshaped the law of England for centuries to come. Henry II was brilliant, flawed, unstoppable, and of course unforgettable.